Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome into another YouTube live show. John Kurtz coming to you live from the official Open for Business studios here after week 2 in the Big 12. And I tell you what, there's a lot to digest, especially for your boy here. Anybody who is a K-State fan out there, things are a little bit tough. Frankly, K-State and Arizona State hurt the league after a really promising start to the day yesterday. But here's the reality. While I do think the odds of becoming a multi-bid league were affected on Saturday, they shouldn't be as much as they're going to be in the eyes of some. And I think this Big 12 title race is actually still pretty wide open. And I would be careful about writing teams off based on what you saw this week, even if it hurt the national perception of the league. I do want to talk a little more in depth specifically about what's happening with K-State right now, because I think the bottom dropping out scenario is definitely there. I want to talk Big 12 contender tiers, because I think we now have tiers starting to sift themselves out in terms of who are the biggest contenders in the Big 12. And I think there really are 4 teams, I would say, standing above everybody else right now through a couple of weeks based on what we've seen so far. Very much subject to change. Very much subject to change, but that's where we're at right now. And hey, what's going to happen with Mike Gundy? Is Mike Gundy, like, is he surviving to next season? Like, is this done? To me, it looks like Mike Gundy is done. I'll stop beating around the bush. 69-3. I think Mike Gundy is done. Okay. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel as you file in. Appreciate everybody who is doing so. It's great to see everybody. Great to chat with you. A little college football from a Big 12 standpoint here tonight. But a bunch of you who watch the videos are not subscribed. I see those numbers all the time. So please do subscribe. It makes a big difference. And like the video, subscribe to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter, ofbnews.com to do that. Click the link in the description of the video as well. Either way, ofbnews.com, or click the link in the description of the video. You can hit me up in the chat. Appreciate everybody who's there. I'm sure it'll be lively tonight based on the numbers I'm seeing flowing in so far. Hang out in the chat if you want to guarantee your question or comment makes it on tonight, and you just want to support the work that I'm doing. Click the $ below the chat box to submit a super chat. Much appreciate anybody who can support that way. Awesome if you can. Understand if you can't. If you're not watching live and you still want to be a part of the festivities, John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo is how you can reach me. So if you leave me a question or comment there, I will kick off the next show with it. All right. I gave you an instant reaction on this last night, but some more in-depth thoughts now. Look, after this week in the Big 12, I don't really think the Big 12 title race has changed very much. But what happened with Arizona State and K-State, frankly, may have wrecked the multi-bid chances of this league, even though they shouldn't have. I'm going to outline why it really is silly if that has happened. But you guys know how the rest of the college football world tends to view the Big 12. It may well have happened. Now, the one exception to the rule that I just laid out about the conference title race, what I'm basically telling you is don't write off Baylor, even though they missed a huge opportunity for the league. Don't write off Arizona State, even though they lost the game that I had been fearing since the offseason that they would, that I thought could be most damaging to the league's perception. Do not dare count them out of the league title race. I think that would be very, very foolish right now. The one exception, though, is K-State. You can count them out, my friends. I mean, K-State's about to go play Arizona on Friday. It's not even a conference game. They still have one more game to play before they even play conference game number 2. But you can count them out, man. You can count them out. Unless K-State comes screaming back into the picture. They've got bigger problems, bigger fish to fry. And I'll talk more about that later on in the show. But I think you do need to be careful. Okay, you need to be careful about what you do to teams like Arizona State and Baylor, because I'm hearing a lot of the chatter, and I will get into my Big 12 contender tiers in just a moment, but I'm hearing a lot of the chatter here, and it's like, okay, well, it's Utah and Iowa State and Texas Tech. I guess they're just going to have to do this whole thing for everybody. Yes, I know, TCU fans, you're not getting enough love and respect right now. Probably hurts that you were on a bye this past week, but I think that's a little foolish. I think that's very foolish. I mean, let's talk Arizona State, right? Okay, so they lose in a very dumb way at Mississippi State, a game that should have been about an incredible comeback, medal, resolve, a quarterback in Sam Levitt, who, like, when I see him just going Superman flying out there, I love the guy. I admire the guy. To come all the way back from 17 down and get to the one freaking yard line from punching in a touchdown with like 2 minutes left, to go from that to having to kick a field goal to an inexplicable coverage bust to lose that game to a Mississippi State program that finished last in the SEC last year. It's a very stupid loss, okay? It's a very stupid loss. You'd like to think that Arizona State, being the program that they are coming off of last season, would be in position to not fall behind by 17 in Starkville. But I tried to tell you guys going in, look, Big 12 teams could have a hard time playing in Starkville at night. Mississippi State is likely a little bit better than they were last year. For one, that is a difficult environment to play in. Think about going a number of places in the Big 12 at night. West Virginia, Texas Tech, Iowa State, K-State, Kansas at their new stadium, right? Like, that's going to be a tough environment to play in if that place is jacked up, and Mississippi State was jacked up. That was, seeing people talk about that being the most significant win for Mississippi State in like a decade. Like, they wanted that badly. You were walking into a hornet's nest, and you endured the hornet's nest. It wouldn't have earned you a ton of street cred just winning that game on the outside to most, but it would have to me. And so the fact that Arizona State basically did it, I mean, they were right there pulling the comeback off, right on the precipice of it. That did show me an actual lot. And I guess you can see where I'm going with this. Like, if you sent Utah to Starkville, would Utah have just pummeled Mississippi State? I don't, maybe, but I don't know about that. I don't know for sure about that. If you sent Texas Tech there, I really have no idea. Texas Tech's a tough one to figure out. They're clearly not a bad team because they can just kill people that are undermanned. All right, Texas Tech is not a bad team. We know that. But could they have gone and done that? Do they have the mettle to do that and withstand that? I don't know. So I would not write off Arizona State at all. The book on Arizona State coming into this year, by the way, I think this is easy for people to forget because you think of last year's team and you think, well, Arizona State had a great rushing attack, obviously, with Cam Scatterbu, and that offense was pretty lethal with Scatterbu and Jordan Tyson by the end of the year. Yeah, but the word from Tempe was that the defense was ahead of the offense this year. And it may take the offense a little bit to get going, recoup after the loss of Cam Scatterbu, but the defense would carry the day. So being more of a defensive battle in this game in Starkville makes a lot of sense. So I don't know that it's really disrupted a lot of what I would have thought about Arizona State. And by the way, if you're somebody that says, well, John, then the Big 12 is just not very good if that's your title contender. Let me remind you, Arizona State at home beat Mississippi State by 7 last year. Okay? Had to hang on. It was kind of the inverse of this game where they got up big in the first half and then had to hang on for dear life in the second half against Mississippi State last year. And you know what? By the end of the year, they were still good enough to be one play away from beating Texas. So I think it would be foolish to totally get rid of all your Arizona State stock based on just that result. And, as much as I railed on the Baylor loss to Auburn, how disappointing that was, how big of a missed opportunity it was for the Big 12, don't you dare sell your Baylor stock right now. Have you seen what Sawyer Robertson is doing? Okay. The headline, yes, they beat SMU in double overtime. I think everybody is aware of that by now. But speaking of a team that showed some real championship mettle, that's Baylor. Baylor gets down 38-24. Fourth quarter, it's like all parties and smiles on the SMU sideline. There was literally, I couldn't get it out of my head. The camera shot of the SMU kid that scores a touchdown and then is like celebrating in the end zone with what looked like an SMU staffer or something. They're like an athletic department staffer or something. And it's just like, all right, well, route is on, right? All smiles. We outlasted Baylor. Wrap it up. That's not what happened. Baylor came down, scored, stopped, scored. And then even once you're in overtime, Baylor has all this momentum. Things are looking great. And SMU, the first play that they touch the ball in overtime, it's a bomb for a touchdown. And that was like what Kevin Jennings had been doing all day. Baylor defense still has some problems. Okay, don't get me wrong. They are flawed. But then even beyond that, you come back, you got to play defense again. You get a stop, you force the field goal. Guess what? They shank the field goal. And then there it is. Baylor wins the game. This, by the way, is a program and a team You know, a lot of these guys were on the team last year that started 2-4. Everybody left them for dead, said their coach was fired. They were mocking him for the victory cigar formation that led to the Hail Mary in Boulder. And what did Baylor do? Well, they won 6 straight and finished 8-4 and were just an eyelash away from the Big 12 championship game. Like, you can't count these guys out just because of the loss to Auburn, and they showed us a lot. Sawyer Robertson has played an SEC defense and a playoff ACC defense from last year at SMU. And he has thrown for 859 yards, 7 touchdowns, and no interceptions through 2 weeks. Insane numbers, okay? Insane numbers from Sawyer Robertson. Yes, their defense is still, I'm going to be kind here and say a work in progress. Dave Aranda's got to do something, man. He is supposed to be the defense guy. I don't know what's going on there. They've got to get it better. But they have an offense that's going to keep them in games. And they're hard to kill because that offense can always come after you the way that it did to SMU. SMU thought they had them stomped out, but they did not. And you know what? I would even say I wouldn't discount Kansas from the Big 12 title race even after the Mizzou loss. I mean, that game, if you didn't watch that game closely, with 7 minutes left, Kansas is up 3, and Mizzou's got 3rd and 17. And then it turned into 4th and 7. And guy makes a great play. Extends the drive. They go down and score. And then Kansas may well have driven right back down and scored again because Jalen Daniels was on fire. But Emmanuel Henderson, transfer receiver, on a big 3rd down, dropped a pass right in his hands. It was a beautiful ball from JD6. Dropped it. And then Lance Leipold with I think, a very bad playing a little scared decision, punting the ball away. When you had given up 600 yards of offense to Missouri, I'm not punting the ball away in that situation. Not great from Lance Leipold, but, man, they were right there at Mizzou, and that's a program that's won 21 games in the SEC the last 2 years. So, again, Kansas is flawed. They were outgained. It was 595, not quite 600 yards. 595 to 226. They need a better ground game. They were outmanned in the trenches, frankly, but they made some plays. Defense scored to help them. Jalen Daniels is playing really, really, really well. If they can get him some help on the ground, and Kansas can be in this thing. So my point here is the national narrative is going to be, hey, this can't possibly be a 2-bid league. Look, it's just the Big 12. It's a bunch of all this, the mid-12 jokes and all that stuff is going to come out. Don't let that have you be dead and burying some of these teams that have lost that are the reason that people will be saying that nationally about this conference. I think this league title race could still be fascinating. And it's very foolish to get too locked in on just a couple of teams and like, oh, those are the only hope and all of that. Okay. You know, and really, if we're really talking about it with like Arizona State, you're just one play. I mean, it's one coverage bust away from people just being like, yeah, that's fine. Nice gritty road win for Arizona State. Early on this year. Of course, they're still a contender. They won the league last year. And, man, I forgot I had this note looking at it. I'm about to transition into the national part of this. I've got a defense of the Big 12 nationally for what's going to be thrown at the league here. But I was reading some quotes after the game because my thought was, I was like, dude, Kenny, my man, how does that happen? How does that coverage bust happen? How do you wind up with a guy running a post one-on-one for 50-plus yards in a one-score game at that moment in time, right? Like, how you're up 3, how? And he didn't really, it said Kenny Dillingham didn't really go into specifics after the game, but I was reading quotes from the other side from Mississippi State. This is Blake Shapen, the quarterback at Mississippi State. Quote, there should have been a post safety in the middle of the field, but I guess he played more to the boundary. So whenever Brennan caught it, there was nobody there. Very surprising. I didn't expect that to happen. I should have just read that. Blake Shapen, the quarterback at Mississippi State, said, very surprising. I didn't expect that to happen. It's kind of why I threw it like I did, firmly, because I was expecting a post safety in the middle of the field. Jeff Levy, Mississippi State head coach, said, quote, they were trying to show something, and I think the disguise ended up costing them. I loved the call as soon as I saw the defense. Oh, it's got to be maddening. It's got to be maddening. If you're thinking about the Big 12 big picture here, right, and you're going to say, well, Arizona State, you know, you're arguably your league favorite or your defending champion, the team that was ranked at or near the top 10, depending on which poll you were looking at. cannot be the team to go lose to a squad that finished last in the SEC last year. Well, I would turn around and say, okay, I mean, how would you handle this if it were an SEC team? And say, well, this can't be a two-bid league. Arizona State can't be a team that's considered for an at-large playoff spot based on that happening. Alabama last year lost to Vandy and lost to Oklahoma. And not only did they lose to Oklahoma, they lost by 21. They lost by 3 touchdowns, okay? So, yeah, Oklahoma wasn't the worst team in the SEC last year, but they were a bad team in the SEC last year, and Alabama lost by 3 touchdowns. They also lost to Vanderbilt. They had 2 bad losses like that. And they were still heavily considered for an at-large spot in the college football playoff, okay? So I think it's very silly if that is being used on any basis to just eliminate this league right now from having any shot at doing that. I would also just say, like, look at a conference like the ACC, which I think is going to get a lot more respect. And I understand wins over Alabama and Notre Dame will do that. But I did just say Alabama didn't make the playoff last year, right? Well, SMU did, and the Big 12 beat SMU. The Big 12's got 1 win over SMU already. May get another one. We'll see what happens with TCU. The Big 12 beat an actual playoff team in SMU. Alabama is not, but Florida State is getting a ton of credit for that. Now, I think we all understand why. The name value that backs Alabama is certainly a lot different, the brand value, than what SMU has. But if we're going to really parse this out, SMU accomplished more last year as a team. The ACC as a conference has been up and down, and it will get far more credit. Like, SMU lost. Clemson was down 3 scores to Troy at home on Saturday. Georgia Tech was within an eyelash of losing to a middle-tier Big 12 team in Colorado. I'm telling you, no league is perfect here, and every league has mixed results. We were certainly hoping for the best and hoping for the Big 12 to really come through and take advantage of all the opportunities that they had, but it's an unfair curve that we grade the Big 12 on seemingly with this, just because of where the perception starts on this league. Okay. But at least we can all take solace in, at the end of the day, laughing about the fact that it was Rhett Lashlee himself, SMU head coach, who said, quote, "There's no question that our league has separated itself as one of the top 3 leagues in America." That was Mr. Rhett Lashlee taking a pointed shot at the Big 12 at ACC Media Days. And now, for the second straight year, Rhett Lashlee has lost at home to a Big 12 team in the non-conference schedule. So congratulations to Rhett Lashlee on that, not doing his part to help out his beloved ACC. With all that rich history that SMU has in the ACC, not doing his part to hold things up there. All right, thank you all for being here. As you file in, I see a lot of people in here in the YouTube audience. Please do like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. That is a completely free way to support. I'm talking college football multiple times per week, multiple times per weekend now, all from a Big 12 perspective. So please do click subscribe if you haven't. Like the video. Very easy to do. Very easy to support. And subscribe to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter. Join 5,100 plus Big 12 fans who do subscribe. It's at ofbnews.com. That is ofbnews.com. You'll get that free. It's totally free to your inbox twice a week. John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo. If you're not watching live and you want to drop me a question or comment there, you can, and I will kick off the next show with it. And those of you who are in the chat, if you want to submit a super chat by clicking the $ below the chat box, you can do that. And make sure that your question or comment gets on tonight, and just support the work that I'm doing to bring you this content. Appreciate everybody who is doing that. Okay, well, if the Big 12 is going to be a multi-big league, who are the teams that need to be in the mix for that to happen? Shockingly, my preseason favorite appears that they may be out of that mix already, okay? I don't love worrying about everything as far as it's concerned with the playoff, which is why I tried to open up the show saying, hey, Big 12 title race still looks like this is going to be great. But I understand why people worry about the playoff, not just from a general college football fan perspective. Hey, the most interesting thing to me is, like, what's the postseason going to look like? But also, if you're thinking existentially, which unfortunately, if you are not one of the top 10 to 15 brands in the sport, you almost always have to be thinking about that, especially if you're in the ACC, the Big 12, or the Group of 6. You got to be thinking about trying to get multiple teams in here. And last year, we all know it didn't happen. BYU got really screwed in that discussion. Arizona State got underseeded in the playoff. Big 12 didn't get treated with a lot of respect. And now, early on in the year, I mean, Big 12 hasn't done a ton of favors for itself. There have been some highs, namely Iowa State beating Iowa on Saturday and Baylor beating SMU on Saturday. Once again, I've explained this multiple times, but I do think the SMU thing matters more, not just because they made the playoff last year, but because Iowa has become memeable. You know, I mean, they're just memeable. The offense has been so bad, even though that's a pretty solid program. The offense has been so bad that everybody just thinks that they're a joke. I mean, it's not easy to beat them. Did you guys watch a Cyhawk? I mean, it was the most Cyhawk game that has ever Cyhawked. 16-13, incredibly appropriate final for that game. And it ending on a 54-yard Kyle Conradi field goal. I guess not totally ending, but for all intents and purposes ending. The game-winning points being scored on a 54-yard Kyle Conradi field goal. It's as appropriate as it gets for Cyhawk. And that's just a gritty, tough program win. Like, I mean, that is what Matt Campbell's program is right now. I don't think they're the most talented team in the league, but damn it, if they are not as gritty as anybody in the league. And they don't have a guy in Rocco Becht who just finds a way to always be making the play at the end of the game. Even if there is some luck involved, which that third down conversion on the go-ahead field goal drive was, I don't know what you're going to call that, if not luck, but whatever it is, you got to just throw your hands up and say, Rocco Becht's got it. Whoever he made a deal with to get that stuff, turnover luck, whatever it is. You know, I hear K-State fans complaining about it. I'm just like, at this point, guys, what can you say? Whatever he's doing, it's working. All right. So, you know, I mean, I think I would start to make the argument that Rocco Becht, I think, has been more important to Iowa State's program than Brock Purdy, or at least he's a better quarterback for that program than Brock Purdy was in college. I don't know that that's really debatable. Brock Purdy's definitely going to be the better pro, but Rocco Becht has that it factor, and that was on display again late against Iowa. It was a hell of a win, man. And Iowa State now. The thing for Iowa State is, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I'm giving you some coverage clones. I had an Iowa State fan complaining to me in my mentions earlier. Iowa State has now surpassed both of their rivals as programs. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Right at this second, they're a better football program than K-State. They're a better football program than Iowa. And I don't know if that's ever been true. I'd have to have somebody a little more well-versed in the history of Iowa and Iowa State football to tell me that. So Iowa State did do the Big 12 a favor. I want to make sure that I give full credit to the Cyclones for that. And Baylor, already talked about their win over SMU. But the list, unfortunately, is longer on the other side. Didn't beat Auburn. Missed a chance to really surprise with Georgia Tech, Nebraska, Mizzou. You know, any one of those games I think would have been just a nice, like, oh, wow, did not expect the Big 12 to do that. Okay. You let the last place SEC team beat your defending champ. And then the perceived preseason favorite, K-State, just lost to Army and is 1-2. I want to make this point, okay? Because for everybody, and I promise you I'm getting to the contender tiers. I'm getting to what teams have a legit shot to make this a two-bid league. But remember when Brett Yormark got rid of the preseason media poll, and so many people like mocked that, didn't understand it, mocked at worst, didn't understand at best. Like, why does this matter? It was a great story that Arizona State was the last place team in the league and won the league last year, all this. I'm like, okay, guys, it's very clear that there was a bias against Arizona State and BYU because of where they started in the polls, 16th and 13th. But now look what's happened just this year. The preseason media poll that the Gambling Gauchos did had K-State picked first. The coaches poll that Brett McMurphy did had K-State picked first. You probably would have had K-State, Arizona State as 1-2 in your preseason media poll had it actually happened. And now look at what has happened by September 7th. K-State is having as disastrous a season as they have had in a couple decades. Pre-Bill Snyder, maybe you'd go back to that. I do think I saw Bill Snyder had one season that started 1-2. Other than that, I mean, it's the worst since pre-Snyder, the start to the year. People would be mocking the league. Look at this again. The Big 12 preseason favorite is terrible. Look what happened last year with Oklahoma State and Utah. Now, again, how good can this league be? If you thought K-State was going to win the league and they just lost to Army and damn near lost to North Dakota, they saved themselves by not having that poll. They saved themselves. They really did. Okay? I'm telling you, they did. And then Arizona State, if they're at number 2, the second place team in the Big 12 just lost to the last place team in the SEC. You'd be getting hit with that. Smart move. Smart move. Anybody who thought that was a dumb move, I'm sorry, it's already paying dividends. Okay? Now, what I'm about to tell you, with that as the pretense to all of this, how the Big 12 can best try to get somebody in as an at-large, this is all dependent on what happens the rest of the non-con schedule, which Texas Tech's got Oregon State. Iowa State somehow is playing a game at Arkansas State. I mean, Arkansas just beat them 56-14. I wouldn't think that's going to be a problem, but that is a weird game. Utah's got Wyoming. TCU has Abilene Christian. I am assuming that they take care of business in all those games. I'm assuming so when I say all this. Just understand that. But I think here are your options right now. This is kind of how the tiers have separated out. But these are the 4 teams that I think definitely have the best chance. If you're going to be at-large team, not Big 12 champ, but at-large trying to make this a 2-bid league. Okay? Utah, smash UCLA, earned a lot of national respect with that. Saw them ranked as high as number 8 by people who adjusted accordingly after watching week 1 of Devin Dampier at Utah. They already have a respected name. They've got, I was phrasing it like this. Utah, if they have a good year this year, they've got a pretty good alibi for what happened the last 2 years, where people are saying, well, like, wait, what happened? Where were you on the night of 2023 and 2024, Utah? And Utah will say, well, our quarterback and, one of the better players in program history had all these injuries and missed a ton of games. And what are we supposed to do? We had horrible quarterback injury luck. And people say, well, okay, checks out. You're good now that you got a quarterback in there healthy and playing well, and you were great before. They've got an alibi, plus built up reputation. Utah would be number 1 on this list. I guess I didn't think about going in order. I don't know that it's really in particular order for the rest of it. Texas Tech's got the street cred from the portal. That's going to help a lot. And they have been about as dominant as possible. I know I did see one Tech fan saying, hey, we got to run the ball better. Didn't run the ball very well against Kent State. Frankly, I didn't look deep enough into it. I watched like the first quarter of that game in the quad box, and I was like, every time I look, Tech is scoring on special teams or Baron Morton is throwing a touchdown pass. I mean, it just as dominant as could be. So can't wait for Tech Utah, which is not this upcoming week, but the week after. Iowa State, ton of people saw them beat K-State. Now they beat Iowa. Things are rolling for the Cyclones. I think they've been here. I mean, last year they made the Big 12 championship game, right? Like, they should have enough established right now that they have a chance to do that. And TCU, I am not going to forget the Horned Frogs, okay? They smashed Bill Belichick in front of God and everyone. And by everyone, I mean 6.6 million people on television that watched that game. Made a good impression when everyone was watching. Josh Hoover's fun. TCU was just running all over Bill Belichick. So TCU right now would definitely still have a shot. All right. Now, maybes. I mean, Baylor. I just told you, don't count them out of the Big 12 title race. We'll see what SMU winds up being, but Baylor got something back with the SMU game. It would have. Now, would you like to flip-flop and put the Auburn game on the CW on Saturday and instead have the SMU game be the one that was a standalone Fox game on a Friday? Yes, you sure would have. You sure would have. But I don't know, at least like I saw college football final on ESPN calling it the game of the day, Baylor SMU. So it did get some love and some run. It will definitely help. BYU, I haven't talked a ton about BYU. Portland State, really bad FCS team. They were as dominant as possible. Stanford choked the life out of them, which you could see coming a mile away. Very predictable. I was kind of laughing at the crowd shots of Andrew Luck by the end of that game as Stanford was throwing an interception in the waning moments. That one was funny. But BYU just needs to go out and prove it against teams with more of a pulse than Stanford. Nothing against the Cardinal, but I think they're going to be one of the worst Power 4 football programs out there this year. Already have lost to Hawaii. And then, like maybe Kansas. Could Kansas be an at-large? I don't know. Mizzou win would have helped a ton there. Will they get credit for a close call? People, you can just take a quick glance and see it was an 11-point game, but that was a one-possession game. Mizzou running back got loose at the very end to make the score look a little bit more lopsided. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of the list. That's where I feel like it's at for the Big 12. If you're thinking about, all right, as of right now, take some inventory. Who are your potential at-larges here based on how the season has gone so far? I'd say Utah, TCU, Iowa State, Texas Tech. Outside looking in / maybe we just need more data. Baylor and Kansas, maybe like a little outside looking in. BYU, we need more data. We need more data on BYU to see what that is going to be. But we may well find out that BYU is right there. I mean, the defense, no complaints about the BYU defense, which that was supposed to be the strength of the team. It definitely looks that way. And that's going to help out. That can help you carry Bear Bachmeier quite a bit. And look, Arthur, I feel like you guys are arguing about something here, but I agree, Arthur. I agree that Jake Retzloff was pretty average. He was definitely pretty average. And Arthur, if you're saying now it's an average QB, now it's an average QB with a higher ceiling, much higher ceiling with Bear Bachmeier than what you had with Jake Retzloff. Okay. Like the video, everybody who's here, more people. I've seen more people filing in on YouTube. Big YouTube audience tonight. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Really would appreciate it if you did that. It is totally free. It's just one click, and that helps out the channel a lot. I see a lot of you guys that watch that are not subscribed. It would help a ton if you would subscribe. Please click the $sign below the chat box if you want to submit a super chat and be a part of the show that way. And we'll get to some of those right now. Papa Bravo. Sorry, Papa Bravo. I may have missed you earlier. My bad. Papa Bravo. Kleiman sounds completely lost these days. Do you think success at North Dakota State has made it hard for him to handle underperformance, or is this just bad coaching? Well, don't you worry. I'm going to talk about K-State going full implosion in just a moment, but I don't really think it has much to do with North Dakota State. I think it's a lot more to do with like changing dynamics of the sport. And that is literally, you're kind of hitting on something that I'm going to get into, because the press conference was not great yesterday. And I think it seems to me to be pretty obvious what was going on there. And the fact that he's having to do that says a lot about the team and the era of college football that we are in. Now, is like the general gist of where the team's at right now. How much of that is because of bad coaching? I mean, look, they drop passes all the time. They cost themselves probably 4 points at one point in the game by a procedure penalty. They get a lot of crucial penalties. They are not a disciplined team. They don't, special teams has been bad until they finally run a kickback for a touchdown and it legitimately hurt them. As crazy as that sounds, legitimately hurt them. Special teams are not good. They commit a lot of crucial penalties. They drop passes. They're very sloppy. Eye discipline was the biggest problem, right? That's a discipline thing, coaching thing. That's what Kleiman said the biggest problem was after North Dakota. Yeah, they're not a well-coached team. I mean, they're not a well-coached team at all. So bad coaching is definitely a big part of what is going on. David, what's up, David? Good to see you. David says, Utah, Texas Tech, and maybe TCU lift the Big 12. TCU plays SMU. Yeah, the interesting part about TCU SMU is it's like, hey, obviously, yeah, you want TCU to win the game, but then you just pulverized SMU's season already before it even gets going in the ACC, right? If TCU and Baylor go win that game. But man, TCU better win that game, dude. After what happened last year, TCU better be motivated to go make that happen. Thank you, David. Great to see you, my friend. Starter 179. What's up, Starter 179? Ooh, I like this. I like this topic. Starter 179 says, John, I can't overstate how incredible the TNT production quality was for the Tech game. From the behind the scenes, crisp video studio, Skycams, it made ESPN feel like the 90s. I hope we do more. I am with you. Caught a little bit of the Arizona-Hawaii game and caught more of Texas Tech and Kent State on Saturday. And, I mean, it's very clear. They do an excellent job, man. I mean, first of all, like, Is it Adam Lefko? It's Lefko. I know I always think people just call him Lefko when I see him on podcasts and stuff, but like he's really good, sharp anchor. It honestly, it feels a lot like their NBA coverage, which is excellent. Like they're definitely doing a great job with it. I love the look and feel of it. The behind the scenes stuff is cool. I saw they showed that clip of like Baron Morton and Joey McGuire breaking down some plays or kind of talking shop. And I know they said that was like a show that they have, like sort of an XO breakdown sort of thing. And I was like, I legitimately want to go watch that. That's very cool that they're doing that for the Big 12. So yes, I am incredibly encouraged by what we're seeing from them as a TV partner. And ESPN just feels sloppy all over the board in a lot of ways. I mean, some of this is maybe I've just seen enough ESPN Plus broadcasts at this point that it all runs together. Some of the slop and audio issues and, I don't know. I'm even thinking Ireland. I know it wasn't really their fault because of the field, but it's like you can't get a first down line. I'm always frustrated on ESPN broadcasts, feeling like I don't get as many replays as I should of things. So yeah, TNT is running circles around that so far. So I'm definitely excited about that. And even like, I think Mike Golick Jr. is really good on the call. He's done Big 12 games for the ESPN family of networks before, and I thought he's great. So I really like that and hearing him on the call. And he's a guy that's passionate, loves the college towns. He's going out to Spankies when he's in Lubbock and posting about it. Like he's here for it. He's about that life. So I do love that. Thank you, Starter179, for being here. Click the $ below the chat box. If you guys have a super chat and you want to contribute to the show tonight, make sure your question or comment gets on. I appreciate everybody who is here. Not looking forward to this one, but look, for me, the question on K-State has turned from can this team still be in the Big 12 title race to is this team 2024 Florida State bound for 2-10? Is this the latest team to completely tank its season after losing Ireland? I think anything is on the table for this team right now, unfortunately. And that's not all just about K-State's program. Some of that's just about the environment that we're in college football right now. You get off to a rough start with big expectations. The dynamics are such in the sport right now where the bottom can fall out a lot quicker than it ever could before. So, like, after Iowa State, I was like, okay, this confirmed about what I thought. I was picking them at 9-3 before the year, and I was getting crap from my podcast co-hosts and 3MA listeners who were like, you're too negative on the team. They're going to go to the Big 12 championship game. And I just thought, until I see them take a step forward and be a little tougher, grittier, and or Avery Johnson just take the next step as a quarterback, I can't in good faith say that they're going to be a Big 12 championship caliber team. And after the Iowa State game, I was like, maybe this is more like 8-4 again. Just felt like the same team that I had watched. Then after North Dakota, it was like, all right, I guess I can cut them slack for traveling back from Ireland. Like maybe they still have it in them to rebound and be a contender, but this now feels more like, is this team going to be 5-7, 6-6, something like that? After the Army game now, I'm like, dude, anything's on the table. And it's not even, that Army game, this is not an excuse at all. You got to go win the game. It was a little bit weird and fluky. It was. K-State only had 6 possessions in the game until that last drive in the fourth quarter. They only ran 4 offensive plays. It was weird and fluky. That's kind of what happens when you schedule Army. You've got to understand that that's a possibility. But when you add that to what had already happened this season, and you add that to the expectations, and you add that to 4-game redshirt rule and transfer portal, you got yourselves a problem. You've got yourself a problem. And this is what leads me to, I got the question just a minute ago from Papa Bravo about Chris Kleiman. This brings me to the press conference yesterday where, Chris Kleiman came into the press conference and basically started with like a moderate defense of what happened. It wasn't, hey, unacceptable, can't happen, which is, the fans want fire and brimstone and like all that. It was definitely not that. He said, he outlined everything that happened in the game, which I don't think he's totally wrong with. The defense was gassed because they were out there so much. Offense only ran 4 plays up until that last drive in the second half. The return touchdown actually hurt them because the defense got no rest and they had to go right back out there on the field. And then it led to Army deciding to try and squib kick the next time that they lined up to kick it. And that turned into a squib kick that hit an up back and was then recovered by Army. And so that may not have happened had you not run the kickback where they were scared of getting another return popped on them. So as crazy as that is, that kickoff return for a touchdown was really a negative thing for K-State. I agree with Chris Klieman on all that. But the bottom line is, dude, you just had back-to-back home games of needing to escape with a last-minute drive against North Dakota, and then you lost to Army with a backup quarterback, by the way. That you can't be defending individual things in that game at that point. That's not, no, you were in large part the Big 12 preseason title favorite. This is a fan base that is expecting a Big 12 championship game appearance. And so what it comes across to me as, Chris Klieman's not stupid. He knows that, he understands that, but it came across to me as a guy who's trying to protect the locker room, not quitting on him, not giving up on him. And that is really the problem to me here. Klieman always talks about the big strategy shift that they made to win the Big 12 championship after they won 4 games in 2020 and it was a rough year. The strategy shift was, hey, we're going to be a player-led program. Well, if you're a player-led program, you can't basically lose to North Dakota and Army back-to-back weeks and then have to be tiptoeing through your press conference trying not to say anything that's going to make the team quit on you. And that's what it felt like. I don't think that these players, when I've been saying, hey, they're not tough, they're not gritty, this is not, you watch Iowa State's program, those guys are busting their ass all the time. There's no question that they're tough and gritty. And perfect encapsulation of the game, I thought, for K-State. There's a lot of athleticism and talent on that roster, but Jerron Tibbs has a catch on the first play of the drive when K-State is trying to get into field goal range to at least tie it at the end of the game. Perfect ball, a dot from Avery Johnson, showcasing his talent there. Great throw. Jerron Tibbs is open, and he drops the ball. It should have been a fumble, but he drops the ball when a well-coached, tough as hell Army safety comes in like a missile and jars the ball loose with his helmet. And then it happened again 2 plays later to Jace Brown, one of the better receivers in the Big 12, but finesse guy, same thing to him, and he drops one on the sideline. And then you don't convert on the drive, and that's it. That's done. It's the kind of team that you have right now. And so I don't think there's a whole lot of toughness, grittiness that permeates through this roster. And it feels like Chris Klieman is well aware of that and doesn't want the worst case to happen, which is the bottom completely falling out, which is absolutely on the table, man. Absolutely on the table. And if we are going to parse through all the, you can call it excuses or just justification for what happened in the game. Yes, all that is true. You're tired and the onside kick thing and all that. But what you can't do is give up a 2-minute drill touchdown at the end of the half. End of the first half, you're playing a triple option service academy with a backup quarterback in case they gave up a 2-minute drill touchdown. It was 13-0 before that. If you go into the half up 13-0, you're in totally fine shape. But that changed everything. Then Army got the ball to start the second half. And then early in the game, K-State settled for field goals, and they punted on a 4th and 2 from midfield. Your offense has to be better, more efficient than that. A million reasons why that was happening. But you got to be better. You got to be better. And if you have a player-led program, they should look at the results of the last 2 games and be like, coach should go in there and rip us. We should be ripping us. And I don't think that's happening at all. And this is kind of the vibe of these guys. Right? K-State fans were ecstatic about the recruiting haul with Avery Johnson, Dylan Edwards, Lincoln Cure. There's even guys like, Jordan Allen on defense was a big recruit that they kept away from Oklahoma in state. Jace Brown was not a huge recruit, but he turned into one of the best receivers in the Big 12. But they're all kind of finesse, not rah-rah. And the vibe of them is just this they're not ass kickers that are just going to go knock you over and make a play when you need it. And I wonder about the dynamics of these were all tough recruiting battles that I think there was a lot of pressure to win, especially because so many of these guys were in-state players. And tough, tight recruiting battles, tough, tight retention battles where K-State's done a great job of retaining the roster over the last couple of years, not losing a bunch of guys. But it feels to me like there's some trepidation about how hard can we coach these guys, because we know they have a ton of options and we're paying them a bunch of money and we don't want them to leave. So I feel like some of the dynamics have just shifted so much in the NIL transfer portal era of the sport that, when Kleiman won the Big 12 in 2022, NIL was there, but it was still kind of in its infancy, and it was a different environment than it is right now. They also had some guys like Cade Warner, Deuce Vaughn, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who were, those were more tougher, ass-kicking kind of guys. But I think the dynamics have shifted so much. They seem to be more scared. This is just, I'm really outside observation here, but they seem to be like more scared to really get after these dudes and coach them hard. And that's what this team and this roster needs right now. They need to be coached hard. They need more toughness within them. And it's too late. It's too late in season for that. And so the question becomes now, does the bottom totally fall out, and does it turn into Florida State last year, 2-10? Does it turn into Oklahoma State last year, 0-9 in the Big 12? Because it can. You've got the 4-game redshirt rule. Do guys start to bail if you go lose? Because I said it before, I'll say it again. They've got to play at Arizona on Friday. Arizona, who, Noah Fafita suddenly looks like he's got his mojo back. Arizona playing a lot better. Short week after just getting beat up by Army. That's all the talk in the post-game press conference, how tired they were. I don't know, man. I saw K-State was an early Vegas favorite by 2.5 points. I would not bet a cent of my hard-earned money on that at all. Not a penny of any super chat would be bet on that. And if you start 1-3, then are guys going to be making business decisions? Dylan Edwards hasn't played since the first snap that he was on the field to return a punt in Ireland. What's going to happen with that situation? I don't know. I have no inside info on that at all. I certainly hope that doesn't happen. That's just speculation. It would be a little silly because technically, a lot is still out in front of you. Even if you're 1-3, only one of those losses would be a Big 12 loss because Arizona's a non-con game. But this is where in the sport today, things are so much more volatile. Look at Florida State. That's the other thing I would caution the fan base on right now is even if that does happen this year, I think you're definitely in jeopardy of that happening this year. But even if it does, that is not like hey, the program's dead and gone. Look at Florida State. They regrouped, different portal haul, a ton of different players, tried again, and bam, they go out and beat Bama week 1, and they look like they're right back in it as a playoff team this year. It's just that's how it's going to be in this sport from year to year. That's what you have with the transfer portal, the redshirt rule, and NIL right now. It creates that sort of environment. So disaster potential is there. We'll see what happens. I would definitely keep your eye on what's going to happen with K-State, but it's a lot of issues. I would say hey, it'll be interesting to see how they respond on Friday, but I've said that the last 2 weeks and they have not responded very well at all. So, hey, it's where we're at. That's where we're at on K-State. Please like the video. Huge audience in here tonight. Love that. Appreciate all you guys. Please like the video. Subscribe to the channel. I see all of you, 361 YouTubers that are here. Please do like and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, double check. Even if you think it might be, double check. If you're not, please subscribe to the channel. That really helps. And you can submit a super chat. I've got some more to get to that I'll get to in just a minute. You can do that by clicking the $ below the chat box. John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo. If you want to hit me up there and leave a question or comment, I will address it on the next show. That's a way to get in touch if you're not watching this live. I know many of you can't. So lots of ways to get in touch with the show. And ofbnews.com. That's ofbnews.com to subscribe to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter. 5,100. It's over 5,000 people. Big 12 fans already do subscribe. Get it free to their inbox twice a week. Make sure that you do that. All right. Flipping the script. This is a good one. ESPN is cutting so much, they'll soon just be ESP. Yeah. I feel like a lot of Big 12 fans probably feel like the ESPN Plus broadcast should already just be called ESP Plus. Maybe even no plus, just ESP broadcast. That's good. That's a good one. Flipping the script. That's a good one. Jimmy Touchdown. Who are West Virginia fans? Yeah. Boy. How do you regress from Neil Brown? West Virginia projected to go 1-11 by ESPN, and Rich Rod's seat is already on fire. West Virginia football is an embarrassment. Okay. Jimmy Touchdown. I love that name, by the way. Kind of digging the photo, too. But let's have a little chat here, okay? Is it disappointing that West Virginia lost that game? Yes, but Rutgers almost lost to that same Ohio team. I think that Ohio team may be pretty salty in the MAC, and you overturned like 80% of the roster, man, from a program that was a 500 program. To expect that Rich Rod, even if he is as great a coach as a lot of West Virginia fans think he still is in 2025, it's probably going to take some time, my friend. I don't think it's fair to expect any program, but especially one that was kind of middling under Neil Brown, to just be able to like flip that switch and be like, man, we're going to turn over. We're going to have 70 new players on this roster. And by week 2, we're going to be able to be perfect on the road. I mean, I would also remind you this, Jimmy Touchdown. You know who else lost at Ohio a couple of years ago? It's Matt Campbell. And I just told you that Matt Campbell and Iowa State fans are sitting here right now celebrating the fact that they have usurped both of their rivals in Iowa and K-State as a football program right now. It's just a couple of years ago, man, that Matt Campbell was getting yelled at by that guy in the Iowa State jersey after losing at Ohio. So let's pump the brakes, calm down. And I'm the guy who was not nearly as high on the Rich Rod hire as many West Virginia fans were. Pump the brakes. Give the man some time. It's going to take some time. You know, and I can remember having this convo with a West Virginia fan in the offseason. It was like, John, I don't know what you're talking about by, hey, you know, may take a year or two. Like, our expectations are you've got to be better. Or I think I said, like, hey, a bowl game this year would be great. And no, our expectations are you've got to be better than what Neil Brown was already. That's why we got rid of the guy. It's just unrealistic, man. It's just unrealistic. And none of that discounts the fact that, yeah, you've got Pat McAfee and you've got not only his money, but a lot of juice there and a lot of people who are backing Rich Rod and supporting it. And Rich Rod was a hell of a coach at Jacksonville State. And he does have a resume that suggests there's a chance he's still a really good Power 4 coach in 2025. But it wasn't going to happen overnight, man. It wasn't going to happen overnight. So I would just preach a little bit of patience there would be my message. LA Horn Frog. Thank you, LA Horn Frog. Great show as usual. Go Frogs. Look at that. Start talking about TCU here on the show. TCU fans, come out and say thank you. Appreciate you, LA Horn Frog. Thank you for the nice message. Alan, I feel for you, my friend. I appreciate you coming here. Alan says, John, apologies to my Big 12 brethren for losing to Mizzou in the SEC. You got Jason Bean's phone number? Well, maybe if Jason Bean, you could just be like letting him run around. Are you going to 2-quarterback system then? Because I don't know. I'm going to go look up Jalen Daniels' stat line. I thought Jalen still played a pretty good game. By the way, Deshaun Hanukkah looks awesome as a tight end. That's a guy I always pay attention to because I used to call some of his high school football games back in the day. But, you know, Jalen Daniels, 18 of 30, 223, 2 TDs, 1 pick. On the ground, Jalen Daniels, 10 for 17. Yeah, that ground game was not good. Yeah. Can't look. The problem here, I would say, Alan, is Kansas needs to be better in the trenches to go up against Mizzou. Be able to consistently run the ball, and then that defense to have a little more oomph to it. But honestly, I mean, I felt like getting the defensive touchdown early in the game, Kansas fought their ass off, and they were right there. I mean, that very easily could have been a dub. I wish Lance Leipold were a little more aggressive. I still felt like KU could have driven down and scored that last possession. I guess it was their next to last possession. But yeah, I mean, Jason Bean would have been nice, but I think Jalen Daniels is still playing pretty good football. So I would not be too discouraged, Alan, even though I know it. Believe me, I know how much it sucks to lose to those guys. You'll get them back next year at home. K-State split that series and pummeled them at home. You get them back next year at home. Chewy. What's up, Chewy? Chewy Gonzalez. Speaking of photos that I love. Oklahoma State is settling for mediocrity if Gundy stays. Well, Chewy, I am going to talk some Mike Gundy in just a moment to finish the show. That's the last thing I have planned for you. Boy, is it even mediocrity? I mean, 69-3, dude. 69-3. Rise and shout. I'm late, but you said 16-13 is an appropriate Cyhawk score. I expect weird Iowa scores like 15-8 or 18-11 in that game. Well, fair enough, rise and shout. I mean, that would definitely be very apropos as well. But it's always like the scores in Cyhawk are always like derivations of a bunch of field goals. Like maybe you get one touchdown in there, and then it's just a field goal fest, and that's exactly what we had. So yeah, a game where you're not breaking 30, is the over under. That's very much in line with what you typically get. But hey, congrats to your Cougs, rise and shout for another win, and great to see you here. Great to see you here, my friend. Chewy back at it. Chewy says West Virginia going back to Rich Rod is like going back to an abusive ex. Should have gone for a different coach. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Well, I mean, he was great at West Virginia the first time around. So it's not like, I guess the only thing that was bad was that, yes, he did bail. He did bail, but when he was the coach, things are pretty great. I think if he can win again, I wouldn't really be concerned about how this is a little bit different than a relationship. Okay. Like, I don't think this is like a romantic relationship where, hey, if that person left you when things felt really great, very suddenly, maybe like from a self-respect standpoint, don't get back together with them. I think with a football coach, this is a little bit more business. Okay. If it'll work out, but that's the question is, will it actually work out? So you're fair to question that. You're fair to question just about anything with Mike Gundy right now. Let's have a chat, fireside chat. Oklahoma State fans, curl up. Let's talk. Okay. This feels exactly like what I experienced as not only a K-State fan, but somebody covering the team in 2018, Bill Snyder's last year, when to me it became very clear, like this can't go on or you're going to be in big trouble. I mean, I think this really is it for Mike Gundy. I know that we joke about the second that you discount Mike Gundy, he comes back and jumps up. He's done that a couple of times before. I have not seen the guy lose 69-3 before. Right after, he was busy losing 52-0 to a 9-win Colorado team last year at the end of the season, too. Like, these are piling up now. Okay. This feels like it's it. Oregon scores on the second play of the game. They had 631 yards. 9 players scored touchdowns. They had multiple defensive scores. This was the best stat that I saw. Worst margin of defeat for Oklahoma State since the year Oklahoma became a state. I saw that on Twitter. Okay. So I know it was at least 100 years. It was the worst defeat in 100 years for Oklahoma State. Oregon's good. Okay. Oregon's good. You were playing at Autzen Stadium. That's one of the toughest places to play in college football. Oklahoma State played for a Big 12 championship in 2023. Oklahoma State played for another Big 12 championship in 2021. Like 2 of the last 21, 22, 23, 24, 2 of the last 4 Big 12 championships, Oklahoma State has played for it. Like they were in the Fiesta Bowl 4 years ago. 69-3. We're beyond like unacceptable. This is where I say it feels a lot like how I felt watching Bill Snyder in 2018. And the game that it reminded me of, I know the score won't sound quite as bad from this one, but very similar feeling watching it compared to watching Oregon and Oklahoma State. In 2018, K-State lost in Norman to Oklahoma, 51-14. That was Kyler Murray, Oklahoma. He was, it was like K-State was moving in slow motion compared to him the entire game. Oklahoma had 702 yards of offense. They had 702 yards of offense. And I'm sitting in that press box in Norman like, this is over, man. This is done. You're not coming back from this. Like, the program is in too rough of shape right now. There's over 9 yards of play for Oklahoma. And then even that one after the game, I thought, now this, I've not seen anything from Gundy that would indicate this. Bill Snyder gave us a quote after the game that made me feel like, damn, even he sees it, like that this is kind of over. Bill Snyder said, quote, "I'll have to reinvest some time and try to find out if the ship has ever been in this condition before. I'm not sure that it has." That was when I was really like, okay, like he sees this. Like we are so far beyond repair. Like we do not have the talent. We don't have the horses to compete here. And at that time, probably more blame to go around. It's like, at least with Mike Gundy, you could say, well, he was late on the NIL front. Bill Snyder was a little bit different there. But Man, I mean, like I said, this is not the first time it's happened. That Colorado game last year, I was having similar thoughts. And it's like, hey, Colorado was a good team last year, but not a team that you should be losing 52-0 to. And the other reason this is really, obviously, I bring the similarities here is like Bill Snyder and Mike Gundy are pretty equivalent to the school that they're at. You know, Bill Snyder is K-State football. Mike Gundy is Oklahoma State football. And I know how tricky the dynamics are here. Like I saw the Oklahoma State fans. You can correct me if I'm wrong. The Twitter account was Gavin Gundy, right? Is it one of his sons that was on Twitter and then Instagram going off on fans, who were trashing Gundy or just saying like, hey, it's time to move on, that sort of thing. And a bunch of the tweets got deleted. I actually saw some of those and they were out there live last night. Look, a kid sticking up for his dad. This is why it's messy. This is why it's tricky. You got to be careful with that. Okay. Because he is right in some respects. Like the reason that Oklahoma State fans care the way that they do right now about where the program's at and how losing 69-3 is unacceptable is because Mike Gundy set the bar really high with all the success that he had. He was also, a player at Oklahoma State, had a lot of success there. I mean, this guy is as Oklahoma State as it gets. And he is the reason that, Boone Pickens put in the money that he did to that place. I mean, the reason that all that stuff exists, and Boone Pickens Stadium's a great venue to go watch a football game in. It's tricky, but it does not seem like you're coming back from this right now. I know there has been a course correction a bit in what you're doing NIL wise, but when Mike Gundy, I mean, he's publicly laying out there before the game, hey, Oregon spent $40 million last year. We only spent $7 or $8 million the last 3 years. I don't like that you're feeling the need to say that in front of a microphone. That's not a good thing. That should not be like a bragging thing. That can't even be like a defense as to what happened. That means you missed the boat, dude, because it's not just the Texas Techs and BYUs of the world that are spending a lot of money in this conference. K-State and Kansas are spending a lot of money on their football rosters in this conference. Like, they're your peers. That's who you need to be competitive with. It feels to me like Gundy got too late a start on that. And I guess in some ways that means the game passed him by a bit. But I don't see where you're coming back from here. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and have a respectable conference season at least, or like gets a little better during the conference slate. Maybe if and when they get Haas Haney back. But that's the kind of loss that just is demoralizing for the program. And it's the second one that you've had in the last 3 or 4 games that you've played as a program. I was trying to remember when that Colorado game was. Was that the last game of the regular season? You don't really come back from that. I have not seen. Gundy's been a miracle worker before. He's made me look silly before, but this is different. Guys, this is different. I did have someone challenge me on that. Like, dude, you guys always do this to Gundy and you're just trying to get clicks and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, okay. First of all, the Mike Gundy stuff I don't think is like getting me a ton of clicks. If that were my goal, I don't think I would be doing that necessarily. It's just my opinion here. But look, Mike Gundy just had to renegotiate his contract last year in order to not basically get run out already. He lost the game 52-0 last year. Now he's losing 69-3. And, to what was a peer program like not that long ago, 5-10 years ago. This is a different level. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know. The thing I really don't know and what I should do a little more digging on and just find out from people in Stillwater, because I don't have all the answers to this. What would fascinate me is like, what is that like at Oklahoma State in terms of the temperature there? How gutsy will Oklahoma State be with this? How aggressive will they be with this? Because the problem that Chad Weiberg is going to face here is the existential threat thing. Like, you've got to manage Mike Gundy and not wanting to have, harsh feelings with a lot of important people there that might be Team Gundy or whatever. And then at the same time, you got to manage like, guys, this is existential for us right now. Like, we can't, if you make the wrong move here and you plunge the program for another 3 or 4 years, man, 2030 is coming fast. And that's when everybody expects the next round of realignment to happen. And you've got to be ready to go. You've got to be ready to move. You got to be ready to roll. You can't be letting the program flounder around. And like, that sucks. that there's so much stress and pressure there, but you need to meet the moment and understand it's a reality. You know, I mean, I say this a lot and I hate it. It's probably my least favorite thing about college athletics right now, but it's how I'm feeling a little bit about, where K-State's at with their program. I'm like, K-State cannot be messing around and screwing this up to the point where the program plunges down for the next 3 or 4 years. And it was not like that. 15 years ago, you could tell me, hey, dude, it's just a game. Like, don't freak out too much. Like, if the program's, but 15 years ago, it didn't feel like, hey, if you have a bad 2 or 3 years here, your program could become Oregon State or Washington State and just drop out of Power 4 football forever. And now that threat is unfortunately there. So this is about as tricky as it gets of a situation that Oklahoma State's in. I'm not going to like fire and brimstone stand up here and say, oh, Mike Gundy sucks, run him out of town. Who cares what he did? No, man, I get it. I saw what happened with K-State and Bill Snyder. I know how difficult that was to manage that situation. And yeah, I know it was announced as Bill Snyder retired, but I think anybody understands what really happened there in 2018. And it was really important they did it to get Chris Kleiman on board before NIL and the portal and COVID and all that stuff happened. That would have been a disaster had you still had Bill Snyder in his 80s there. So Oklahoma State's got to meet the moment here. And I am going to be fascinated to see what happens. I'll be fascinated to see what happens. Starter 179. What's up, man? What's more embarrassing is him basically calling his school a poverty program in the press conference. They just can't compete with Tech and TCU regionally. I mean, yeah, like I know some people are a little off put by the bragging about the money thing, but that is really, you need it these days. That is the currency. And like, that's why Texas Tech season is really important. They may be in the process of proving like, hey, you can go out and buy a championship roster. And if that's the case, you sure as hell should not just be bragging about, hey, we only spent like an average of $2 million a year on our NIL. Well, that's not a good thing, Mike. That's not a good thing. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Starter 179, definitely with you on that. Chewy Gonzalez, Oklahoma State plays like an FCS team. I mean, they looked like it from, I did not stick around to watch a ton of that. Frankly, I try to keep it PG and not watch, rated R or rated X things on TV. And what Oregon was doing to Oklahoma State was of that variety. So I decided to move along. But yeah, from what I saw it kind of looked like that, man. Kind of looked like that. Chewy, thank you for your support and thank you for being here today. Whew. All right. Well, a lot of people here, please, on your way out, if you could like the video and if you could subscribe to the channel, that would be great. Over 400 of you here on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. That'd be awesome. All 1,189 of you that are checking this out on Twitter, if you can go to the YouTube channel, search John Kurtz, subscribe, like the video. That would mean a lot as well. Or just subscribe to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter, ofbnews.com. In order to do that, totally free, comes to your inbox twice a week. And yeah, you'll be having one coming tomorrow or Tuesday. Oh, Justin, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we can finish with Justin because who has had a better college football season than Justin? Justin, I feel like me and you, we are on the opposite ends of the spectrum. I don't know much of anybody who's had a worse college football season than K-State fans. I don't know much of any fan base that's had a better season so far than USF fans. Hell of a win at Florida. Okay. 1, 2, you guys have K-State legend Martin Grammatica's son as your kicker, which I love that. That's awesome. Congratulations to him on hitting that game-winning field goal in the swamp. And all of this comes after just pummeling Boise. And I'm telling you, Justin, I hope like hell you guys beat Miami. Finish this thing off. Beat Miami. Okay? Beat Miami. Please do. Justin says, I went to the swamp for the first time yesterday. Man, I'm so happy for you. I saw a tweet where UCF fans cheering on USF. CW has a ranked v ranked game coming this week. Big 12 conference play is going to be fun. Yeah, that game is on the CW. Starter 179 brought up the TNT broadcast quality. I was thinking about that versus the CW. I mean, look, dude, I don't know how people feel like the cinematography is on like One Tree Hill or whatever else you're watching on the CW. I don't know. Their score bug looks kind of like local access TV, I mean, it looks like a high school broadcast or something. It could stand to be a little bit better on the CW. That game deserves better than the CW treatment right now, but Justin, man, I want you guys to win that game badly. And I'm stoked that you got to go to the Swamp and experience that. That is amazing. So congratulations, dude. Hope you were far enough away that you didn't take any shrapnel from the spit that turned into a key penalty there down the stretch, Justin. Zach, what's up, Zach? Zach says, don't worry, John. Cincy took care of the threat of Bowling Green this weekend. You're welcome. Sorry about K-State. Yeah, hey, Zach, Cincy, congrats on the win. Not going to lie, I have not seen a whole lot of what happened in that game outside of the score because there was so much else going on. But I saw that they were up like 21-3 at halftime, and I was like, all right, there's not going to be much of an issue there. Now it's Northwestern State, and then it's at Kansas, and that starts to get interesting. You know, I mean, Cincy did impress me against Nebraska, showing some real grit there. Go play Kansas. Hey, let's see what Cincy can be, man. I'm not writing off Cincinnati as like a 7 or 8 win team this year, Zach. So for your sake, I hope that's what happens. Thank you, Zach. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Yeah. Start at 179. I'm with you, dude. Everybody, if you were watching that Baylor SMU game, like what did you think of that score bug? That score bug was bad. It was really bad. I was like, dude, I feel like I've watched high school broadcasts that looked a little better than this. Anyway. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Great crowd tonight. I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you for supporting all the work that I do. Thank you for supporting the Big 12. Those of you who are Big 12 fans, even if you're not, I still appreciate that you are here. Okay. With that, I will talk to you all very soon. Enjoy what's left of your Sunday night. I hope you have a wonderful start to your week, my friends. On to week 3 of the college football season.